have begun. Um, Cindy Butts, Wendy Clark,
I'm here.
Yep,
Heidi DeWeingart,
I'm here.
Claudio Gualtieri, Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Here.
Matt
Claudio
Puglisi.
was here too.
Here.
I'm sorry I missed my
N-
roll call.
All right,
No problem,
missed, you're
Claudio.
out. You're
I
done.
I thought I saw you. We would have come back for sure. Matt Puglisi.
Yep, I'm here.
Great, thank you. Lisa Tepper Bates. She might be joining in a second. I know she was just on with us. And Greg Ugalde.
Present.
Great.
Okay,
We do
Greg.
have a quorum in attendance for the meeting.
Great. Okay, so we have a pretty brief agenda today. We're starting with the resolution regarding financing for Willow Arms redevelopment, which is located in Simsbury, to be presented by Trayvon.
Hello.
Hey, Trayvon. Hi.
So Willow Arms. So the board action is to approve taxable bonds or permanent only and the amount approximately 1.8 million for the rate not to exceed 7.65 with a 40-year AM and 35-year loan term, and opportunity funds of approximately 1 million with a rate not to exceed 1% with interest only period for 24 months. Just a little bit about Willow Arms. It was a 2024 9% awardee, and it will be a rehab mixed income rental property consisting of 81 units. The development is located in the Terriffill section of Simsbury in a high opportunity area. And according to the Affordable Housing Appeals list, Simsbury is a town with less than 5% affordable housing. Willow Arms was originally constructed in 1972 as a HUD 236 project by a for-profit entity. In 1997, Mutual Housing Association of Greater Hartford acquired the development, and under them, the property will remain affordable in perpetuity. The property has an existing HUD use agreement that will be kept in place and subordinated by the new ELIC. 9 units will be designated as supportive housing, funded through Section 811 project-based rental assistance. The project has provided 90% plans and specs and has the following sustainable design measures. Energy conservation measures is HERS less than 46, and green design measures are Enterprise Green Communities certification, with the building being all electric with solar, including a generator and project commissioning. Broadband internet will be provided to all residential units and free Wi-Fi to the community building. Proposed closing dates and start dates will be late second quarter 2025, and the proposed construction completion date will be in the fourth quarter of 2026. Since this is a rehab, while renovations are being made to the property, the development may relocate tenants temporarily to an identical unit within the property. If a tenant has to be temporarily relocated, they will be eligible for relocation assistance under the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970. Temporary relocation is expected to be around 60 to 90 days, although not anticipated. If the temporary relocation lasts more than 1 year, tenants will be contacted and offer permanent relocation assistance as a displaced person under the URA. Rent structure. So for this project, there's 13 one-bedroom units at 30% AMI, 9 one-bedrooms at 50% AMI, 3 one-bedrooms at 80%, and 3 market rate one-bedroom units, and then 12 two-bedroom units at 30%, 30 two-bedroom units at 50%, and 11 market rate two-bedroom units. The 9 supportive housing units will benefit from rental subsidies through the state CT 811 rental assistance program, and 16 units will receive project-based vouchers through HUD. Other considerations, the development team is experienced and has completed several LIHTC transactions with CHFA over the years, many including CHFA financing, and there will be minimal lease-up risk as the development will serve existing residents. And conditions, board action is subject to CHFA's acceptance of the following conditions prior to initial final closing. DOH review of procurement, GC contract, and relocation plan. We did speak with DOH and they didn't have any comments at the time on the draft GC contract and the relocation plan. So that looks like it's going to get the approval, should be shortly. And review of the CHFA Commission appraisal. I believe that is scheduled to come in. That's actually gonna come in after the board though. I think it's due either next week or the following week.
That's it.
Okay.
That's
Oh,
it. Questions?
Yeah, it's a renovation, so environmental issues, I didn't see anything in here. Nope,
No,
okay, that's good.
We would mention them if they were there.
Okay,
And they would need to be addressed before we brought it to mortgage committee.
yeah, usually there's a list of renovations and again, because of the new format, still getting used to it, I didn't really see, I mean, I saw that there's some environmental work, like, you know, efficiencies, but basically, what's the work that's gonna be done?
yep. So the redevelopment includes energy improvements to become an all electric property by replacing oil heating with ground source heat pumps, adding solar panels, improving air sealing and insulation, installing energy star rated windows, all LED lighting, and low flow water fixtures. Plans include adding porches, redesigning kitchens, new flooring, painting, community garden, backup generator at the community building, new appliances, granite countertops, sprinklers in each building, increased site lighting, sidewalk repairs, and common laundry facilities in each building.
All that for those costs, a couple million, it sounds.
No, that's just the funding. There's tax credits involved in this too. Right?
Oh, okay. So-
Yeah, and then there's other sources involved as well.
all right, so that's what we're.
Yeah, if you go to the second page, you'll see that your total uses is $34 million. So the hard costs alone are
Okay.
21 million.
Right.
Keep going, Dawn. Keep going. Keep going a little further, right there. So if you got just a little further down.
Okay,
you can
yeah.
See the uses. So that's the total cap. That's the use stack, and above that is the capital stack.
It's the
So
okay.
yeah, you've got all kinds of funds in this.
We
there's-
thought there was a sale today, but no, now we see.
Well, I admit to having a limited amount of time to review, so that's my fault. But
No. And we'll go, Heidi, your point was well taken. I think the next item is for us to go over the board package.
Mhm.
So if there are things that you see absent in here, we can add them as a regular piece to the materials.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, are there any questions, comments, concerns? So what's the biggest concern with this? I mean, aside from it, and every time it's a renovation, is there anything you're worried about?
At the moment, no. I know we did speak with the development team. They mentioned tariffs. So I think that's been an issue with a lot of projects coming up.
Mhm.
This is a well-established group, Heidi, the
Yeah.
Mutual Housing of Greater
Yeah.
Hartford. They're contractors, very well established. They know LIHTC very well. In terms of tariffs, we're all kind of, we all have our breath held as to what and if there'll be a major impact to our project, and how it'll happen.
Okay,
So
all right, anybody else, any comments?
Just curious. So at the end of the day, it's going to get a facelift a bit too, right? I mean, it's a nice area. It's a nice setup. But it does look like it could use a little bit of a facelift. You know, just if you're there anyway and you're doing it and you're dealing with the tenants, you might as well get everything done.
yeah, I'm sure they have that in their plans. We can verify that, Greg, and I can mention it at Thursday's board meeting.
Yeah, I'm just because I'm looking too on the website and stuff, and just what it looks like.
Yep.
And so I don't think it's a heavy lift because I mean, they're doing great work in the interiors for sure.
Yep. Yep, we'll verify that. We'll verify that, and I'll mention it in my presentation on Thursday, Greg.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
anybody else? Okay, if not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve is
Thank-
submitted.
Thanks, Greg. Is there a second?
Second, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, Dawn,
Cindy Butts. Wendy Clark. Wendy, I see you're here, but I can't hear you.
She said yes, Dawn.
Thank you. I don't know what's happening over here, but
I
thank you for
couldn't
that.
hear her either.
Okay, my apologies. Heidi DeWeingart,
Yes, aye.
Claudio Gualtieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates,
Aye.
Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Great. Okay, unanimous. The other item I have on the agenda is the new format for
Yes.
committee presentations and board presentations. So Pat, do you want to sort of walk us through it?
Sure, we're gonna, very good, Don. We're gonna leave up Willow Arms and we're gonna walk through this. So, you've had a couple of months. We rolled this out in January.
Mhm.
Seemed to be positively received by everybody. It's meant to do a bunch of things. We had a lot of repetition. If you recall, our board presentations used to be 8 and 10 pages, and it was a lot of repetition. It would be in the narrative, it'd be in the first sheet, it'd be in the second system sheet. So what we tried to do is we looked at everything to make sure we were presenting it in the clearest format possible so that we weren't putting too much burden on the committee members and the board members in trying to get through, for instance, in January, when we had 6 different projects that we presented, it's a lot to go through. So we tried to present it in a format that it's going to be static every time. So if you want to know, for instance, Heidi, if you wanted to know what the hard costs were on a project, it's going to be on that second page
Mhm.
in the uses every single time. So you'll be able to flip right to it and see it. Some of the things that we moved away from, one of the things, and this was brought up at our credit committee, we used to go out and get information about the financial impact of our projects. And we would have to go out to the Department of Labor. And so we'd have to make a request of them on every single transaction, and they would provide us the information, and the underwriter would put that in. We found that it, in a lot of instances, drastically slowed down moving the deals through through the different stages that these projects need to go through in order to get to board, especially the compilation of the packages. And it also creates an additional burden on the underwriter, who is already fairly significantly burdened when they're trying to do these transactions. So our thought is that we would take it out of there. If that's information that is still important to the board or to the mortgage committee members, we can see if there's a way we can aggregate on a quarterly basis and put it into our multifamily activities report. I'm not sure if that's something that anybody's considered, or are you okay with the information that's provided to you since you're making a financial decision for the project as a CHFA board member?
So it's the information about the marketplace? Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's the if you recall, there used to be a paragraph that said this job will create, and the numbers were
Oh.
always very high,
Yeah,
100 jobs and $30 million in revenue for the state
Yeah.
of Connecticut. But in some of those instances, the number of jobs that it would create exceeded the number of people that would be working on the project, and the dollar amounts that it would generate were higher than the total development cost. So
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I don't miss it, no.
I
But
I
Greg?
would play devil's advocate for that and say I like that idea about the updates. maybe we don't need it for each presentation because that seems like an unnecessarily heavy lift. But I do like having that data at our fingertips. And I think it's responsible for us to keep it there and talk about it once in a while, because I think it is kind of telling when you can aggregate it a little bit more effectively than when the numbers just don't quite add up when you're boiling it down individually like that.
Okay, Greg, are you comfortable with us having an opportunity to have some discussions with the Department of Labor to see the best way to do that and it's feasible to do an aggregate? We haven't explored that yet, and I don't want to commit to something until I have some outreach.
Right. I think I like that because I knew it sounded more like a suggestion too when you brought it up, but I
Yep.
think that's worth looking at and finding out, because I have a feeling that those that have been involved in that are going to say, yes, it would be nice if we could compile that for you, and then we would have it also.
Okay,
I think it's valuable.
Yeah, let me see if there's a format that they may offer. Maybe they have maybe it's not the exact information that we were presenting before, but maybe there's a different form. I'll come up with some alternatives
So,
for the group.
and Pat, can you, maybe it's something quarterly that you can do, and you
That's-
report quarterly, like with the projects that we put in?
Yeah, that's why I suggested the multifamily activities report.
Yeah.
We can just aggregate it in there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can do it quarterly because you don't close every
Right.
month with projects, right?
Yeah.
I do like the devil's advocate approach because I think you're right, Greg. I mean, there's so much going on at the federal level with some of our resources that are sort of up in the air in terms of whether or not they're going to continue. And I think there's a lot of conversation around how to make the argument that housing is all of those things, right? It's economic development, it's jobs, it's infrastructure. And so having access to the data in a way that we make sense out of it and can use it in a constructive way as we're having conversations, I think is very, very valuable. I would agree with that.
But to Pat's point, if we don't understand why the economic value of the project,
Yeah.
the more people then there's actually employed. So we need
Yeah.
to understand maybe more.
Right.
Absolutely.
How
No, I
it's
agree with him
calculated.
there.
Yeah.
We can't have nonsensical
Right.
information. We have to have
And
information that
Pat,
makes
do
sense.
you get that information before you close on a deal or after we close on a deal?
No, we got it before we brought it to board. We would have it as part, so we would reach out to them and say, this is the project. And I'm not sure what information we would share with them, and then they would get back to us and say, well, here's the impact, right? And so I agree. I think we need to understand it.
Yeah.
And that's why maybe there's other alternatives. And Andrew Bulger's already reached out to me via message to tell me that he knows the source, and we'll work together to try to figure out what we can present. And maybe I'll present to you guys a couple of different alternatives.
Yeah, because I mean, it will make sense on a closing because we still, when we come to board, it might happen or it may not for any reason.
Right.
And you're counting on that. But if we look at the impact that we're making, it should be like after, like a closing or after closing.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. No matter what, even this alternatives achieves what we were trying to achieve, which is take that responsibility away from the underwriter and let the underwriter underwrite. So we can still provide the information, but not in this format. So we're just shifting this task away from the underwriters.
Okay.
So
Can we scroll then through the presentation a
Yes.
little bit? So I love the sources here.
yeah, so a little bit on that, Heidi. If you recall, we used to do this in narrative, and
Mhm.
it just never really registered with me.
I agree. I like charts for everything.
Especially when you're talking about finances. I needed a chart. And so when I see this, I know exactly what we're doing and what we're looking at for approvals. Are there any deficiencies that you see in it? We tried to capture everything that this took a long time to come up with this little chart, believe it or not. that would capture all the different iterations of what we have. And it's now in a drop-down format. So you're always going to see taxable bonds. You're not going to see somebody say taxable bonds, somebody say tax bonds, somebody that says bonds are taxable. It's always going to read the same. So you'll know right away. So you've got that consistency. And again, it's always going to be shown in this format. So if you want to know a rate, you'll know where to go. You want to know if it's perm only or if it's construction, you'll know right away where it is. So
Mhm.
is there
I like
anything else you want to see in this?
Nope.
You know, I think too, once we get working with this, we're going to know where to look. We're going to be able to make much more effective comparisons as we work through these. Like you said, a meeting where we have 6 applications just makes it very quick to be able to look at each section and derive the answers from there. But I think too, as we work with this for a bit, we may have more suggestions than we
Sure.
do right now, because right now it looks like exactly the information that we need.
Yep. No, and that's fine. I mean, if in 4 months you guys come back and say, hey, we need to see whatever, well, we can always update the template, you know?
Yep.
The concept here was to try to get it consistently presented because we had different underwriters presenting it in different formats. And I don't think that's fair to you because then you guys had to search for the information you wanted.
Right. Agree.
So
Okay.
Dawn, can you scroll down a little, please, to the next section?
So the summary is good. That's, exactly
Yeah.
what we need.
So Heidi, can we address the question you had earlier about the development? So Dawn, if you can go to the 3rd page, I believe it is. Scroll down a little for me, please. No, I'm sorry. Keep going. It's on the next page. So on the next page, Heidi, keep going, Dawn. Keep going. Keep going. So right there. So you have architectural highlights, and then you have so in there you'll see all this was a paragraph that we used to have in the memo itself. And what you see on these 2 pages is actually generated by our system. So now the underwriter, rather than having to fill this in when they do their presentations, they fill this in as they underwrite a deal. And then when it comes time to do their presentation, they're printing these 2 documents, 2 pieces of material are just printed right out of the system.
Nice.
So they're already there. So I don't know if you can take a look at both the architectural highlights and the energy conservation and see if that captures everything that you want to see. I mean, you can see your question to Trayvon was what else is being done, and that's captured up under architectural highlights.
Okay, and my environmental question is also answered.
So if you're okay seeing it here, this is when the
fine.
next time you get a memo to review and you want to see what's the scope of work, it'll be right.
It'll be here. Okay, it's fine.
Okay, so you're good with that?
Anybody else want additions or, I mean, it is hard to chart those kind of things. So I think a paragraph is appropriate. I love this rent chart. I think that it's, we always used to sort of calculate it in our heads. Now you got it for us, which I appreciate.
Yeah. And just to explain the last column, I mean, it's self-explanatory, but we wanted to show some comparison to the market. So the last 2 columns, actually, just so you had an appreciation for what these projects do for affordable housing. So you can see that, like that very first one, that 1 bedroom at 30% is 23% of the market rent. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of savings, $1,500 a month in savings for one of those residents.
So the question is, this one, for the market rate unit, why are we discounting? Why is that unit being discounted?
Well, because that's what so the projected market rents are FMRs usually. And so when you get down into specific areas, your market rents may be a little bit lower.
Okay.
Just one additional question, and Pat, maybe you can just show me where where exactly it is in here. This is basically a preservation project, correct?
Correct.
Are we clear enough here that this is preservation? Well, we have two uses, right? Preservation and creation of new units. And I think it's so important that we're really keeping a close tally. It's great that we're doing preservation. It's important. I just want us to be really clear about that. I guess that's clear here in a couple of places.
It is on the second, Dawn, sorry, if you can go down to the second emphasis page again. Yes, that one. If you keep going down, you'll see that it has rehab units at 81.
Yeah. And our assumption is there's not another loaner who would be able to finance this, right? We are the one source of this capital, or those units would potentially fall off the rolls.
Now, well, there's a couple things here. So this is a 9% transaction. They received a 9% award in 2024. And so we want their we want their construction and permanent debt. We issue taxable bonds for that, and that's how we survive.
Fair enough. Right. Sorry.
That's our income.
Right. This is a different category. I'm still thinking backward to our previous meeting. Thanks.
Yeah. And again, in order for them to get opportunity funds, which we have in this deal, they have to finance through us. And that opportunity fund has been a big reason why we've seen so much in construction financing and perm financing from these borrowers. Before opportunity funds, we hardly ever did the financing on the 9% deals.
So wasn't there a date limit where opportunity funds were supposed to go away, that it was a limited period of time? And was that just initially when it was?
That may have been initially. My recollection is that back in the fall, the board authorized more opportunity funds.
We did, but in general, there was, when they created areas that qualified for opportunity funds.
No. This two different concepts, Heidi.
Okay.
The opportunity funds are a portion of our internal trust account funds. So essentially CHFA's profit. The board has elected to take a portion of those funds and commit them as opportunity funds. Unfortunate name association, but completely different from the opportunity map.
Okay.
And so that's our gap funding. It's and it's generally up to $1 million, usually at 1%, and then we get cash flow once the project is operating.
Okay.
Okay. And then we kept in the other considerations and conditions just so the board members would have an understanding of any risks that we perceived as noteworthy. And then again, we get into the 2 pages of information that's produced by the system. Personally, I find the sources and uses to be some of the most important information when you structure a deal. We are working on a methodology, a calculation for you so that you have a better understanding of, rather than the gross cost per unit, we're trying to come up with a constant sort of net cost per unit. So essentially what CHFA funds, either tax credit, equity, and debt, equates to in terms of cost per unit. So for instance, if you have a mill that's being converted, part of that conversion may be taken care of with historic tax credits. So it may be a very expensive conversion, but a portion of it's going to be taken care of by historic tax credits. So I'd like to net that source out of the cost per unit and work its way down. There'll probably be brownfield remediation, so there could be some DECD cleanup money in there. And so I'd like to peel off all of that as a cost so that we can get a better comparison for what the actual cost per unit is for us. Because as we've layered other sort of social agenda onto our deals, there's also other sources that come in and offset the cost of those addressing those agenda.
I think that's not going to be very easy to do.
It hasn't been, Heidi.
Because there's too many, there's so many news sources or alternative sources. And B, it is something that we as a committee and the board look at the per unit cost, right? That which has gone through the roof in the last couple of years. But I applaud the effort. I'm just not sure how do you decide what you keep in and what you net out. But
yeah,
let's work on it.
For instance, on this deal, if you look, they have a solar installation. Well, the solar installation is obviously driving the cost per unit up, but then you have energy rebates and geothermal credits and solar credits, and so that's an offset. So to just look at the cost side without looking at the resource side, I think gives a false indication of how expensive these projects are.
I agree.
So we may consult with you again to see if you agree with our methodology.
Okay.
If Dawn, if you scroll down past the sources and uses, this is where you're going to find the development team. Again, we used to go all the way down to the bottom of the page there, Dawn. Keep going to development team. There we go. So again, we used to do this in a narrative format.
Yeah, you don't need to.
And so now you'll be able to see it. It's going to be here every time. It's going to have this breakdown of everybody that's involved. And it's all going to be right in this spot every time. All right. Dawn, you can scroll down. This is something a little new. So this is you get the equity pricing here. We're providing what the aggregate basis is, which is just essentially what they can drive, what drives credits, the tax credit equity. We've got some measures like loan to cost, and this is where you'll find the median income for the municipality and your 830G status.
So the loan to value is not here because we don't have the appraisal yet. Is that
right?
Okay, so maybe we should have something like appraisal to follow or something.
Okay, yeah, if it's absent, we could add that. Yeah.
I really like the table format that you're using in all of these areas, Pat. It makes it so much easier than the previous long narratives.
Yeah.
Agree.
We thought about you guys. This was, we really did. I mean, that was part of the problem I had with the previous format was it was too hard to consume.
You know, and like, who knew that the free library is so close to the public library?
All right, and we went over the other two categories, and then the environmental summary, Heidi, you had mentioned before as well. And then the very last piece to it is the map that we've always included. I know that we had thought about eliminating the map, but I kind of like having the map.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
I
like it.
So, and it gives some indicators there about the, as Greg pointed out, the proximity of libraries.
But no, this is like for comparison's sake too. It's very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, right? Transportation, there's nothing close. So, parking is going to be important because, you can't take mass transit easily, right? So I think it's helpful.
Okay. So having gone over all that, are there any sort of gaps that you see in terms of information? Is there anything you want us to present you in a different way? And we don't have to answer it today. You can think about it, and I'm not sure how we would do it if you have to send an email to Dawn, or if you could just send an email to me directly. But however we had to do it, we could entertain whatever suggestions you have after the meeting tonight.
Curious as to, is the team like pretty upbeat about this? Are they looking at? Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Took a lot of time and effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an improvement that's going to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And anything that you can auto populate, like you said, I mean, that is definitely the way to go. You're not retyping and re-entering. The one thing, and I think it's in here, but I didn't remember seeing it, is the the experience of the people we're dealing with, the developer, the team, knowing that we've done business with them. And I'm sure it's in here. It's not in a.
No,
chart.
we may have to,
It talks about the team, but that's interesting because it doesn't
Yep.
really go into the depth of experience.
Well,
Yeah, we
even
could-
especially the experience with us, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yep. I can figure something out on that, Heidi.
Okay, well, just because always makes me feel
Yeah, sure.
better. Yeah, it again could be if it's a chart or a one line or something.
Yep.
I like it. I would suggest anybody who has comments to send them to Pat, maybe copy whoever you want. I don't know if Dawn really wants that, but whoever you think, Nandini, I don't know if that's too much detail or if there's someone else you want copied in, but Pat, you're spearheading it, so.
Yep, that's fine. Just understand, I may say no to you.
Not to us.
Well, no to whoever is making the recommendation.
All right, good. We don't have to vote on this, right? This
No.
is for information.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your
Yeah.
patience with us and your input.
Oh, thanks for doing it. Lastly, on the agenda is the minutes of the mortgage committee meeting of February 25th. Is there any comments, changes, concerns? If not, all in favor of recommending these minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Great. I guess that's it. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you on Thursday.
Do you want a
Thank you, everybody.
motion, Heidi?
Sure. A motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, I'm on vacation time. so-
Second.
Is there a motion?
Motion to
Lisa
adjourn.
made the motion.
Okay, all in
Yeah.
favor, say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Lisa.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
Take care.